Hi everyone, I'm going to go over the introduction to expressions, which is the JavaScript language for After Effects for animating elements on your page. So I have some files here and I'm going to go over each one. So in this first one, I just have a square and the expression is time asterisk 10, which means that this is going to rotate over time in 10% degrees. And the way you add it, I've made a notation here for you so you can basically hold the Option key on a Mac and click on the option that you want to add the expression to. And if you're on a PC, you want to hold the Control key. So Option, click on the property, and then just copy and paste the code here. So it would be times 10 degrees, 10% degrees. Let's say if I wanted to move faster, I'm just going to put maybe 100, and you can see that it's just going to move a lot quicker. If I want to make it even way faster, we'll see that it'll just move that much, and it basically is infinite. So this is one expression, and the next one is a wiggle expression. Again, basically the elements moving from right to left based on these numbers. Let's say if I want to have it so that it just I could kind of see that it'll just wiggle within, you know, based on this is 75 pixels right and left and top and bottom. And if I want to make it look really go crazy, you can see that we just manipulate these numbers. And if I do, these are based on the X and the Y degrees. Oops, make sure you don't delete anything by mistake. You can kind of see that it's much more subtle now. It's like really subtle. So basically all you have to do is to copy and paste this code and add it to the different parts of the page. I'm going to just delete this one and just add, maybe just have it so that it wiggles faster. Make sure you don't delete the numbers. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna copy this. The wiggle is one of the most fun expression that we have here. So I'm gonna come back here to my square, and if I hold the option key and click on position, I can or control key if you're on a PC. If I do this, now you can see that not only it rotates, but it also wiggles based on these X and Y property. And I can basically just add this to so many different things here. So if I want to do like to the scale, you see now the size also changes. And if I want it to be dramatic, you see that based on this really simple code, I now have this pretty interesting animation happening here. Okay, so that's the wiggle and the time rotation. And this one we already did that too. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about some effects here. So this is the Mercury effect. So if you open this up, double click on the Mercury, you could see that these are the various settings, and under effects basically would be under simulation, CC simulation. So I could manipulate these to different settings. Just it's a preset. The animation is kind of preset already. And let's see here. And I could let's see, maybe I'll just change it to that one. Okay. And you can kind of make him bigger, make him smaller, but based on the wiggle setting, that the code that I showed you, what you could do is, let's see here, I could add wiggle to any of these properties. So let's see here. Okay, let's just do this one. So basically now you see it's completely random based again on these settings. And again, if I want to get something really extreme, you kind of see that. And if you want to get rid of this, you just click on it and delete it, and now it goes back to the normal. So this is the wiggle expressions. I'm gonna go back actually and put it on jet. Can just sort of manipulate the how longevity is, how long this piece lives on the page. So this is one effect that's kind of fun to play around with, and you can always use this as overlay for you know, different, you know, you can add other elements on your page and have this kind of wiggle over it. So let's see, if I have this one, then obviously you can just use your modes. Maybe not that one. You can kind of see it, but it's a little hard. Maybe overlay. So I mean, depending on what you're doing, you can just sort of have it as an element to your page. I'm going to delete that, put that on normal, and so that's the, and then it's the velocity is, you know, again, you can basically just if I option click, just go here. Kind of just have it both on the X and the Y. And maybe just play with the numbers. So you can come up with pretty interesting visuals just with this one simple expression. And of course, like I said, so you can play with the gravity, basically how the item falls on the ground. You can play with birth rate, and so on. So that's the wiggle. We have Mercury, so we have this other Mercury. I have like, I set an expression for velocity. Again, you can just sort of play around with the numbers, which basically implies the pixels shift, vertical and horizontal pixel shifts. And so I usually like to just put a really extreme so I can kind of see how the wiggle works, and then I usually go back and play with the numbers, making them more like bigger or smaller and so on. So the next one is Starburst. So I'm going to actually take off the blur effect. So this is the star. Make sure you're on a black solid because the stars are white. And this is your scatter. So if you click, basically this is, and then you could have like different sizes, and you can also have different speed. If you go on the minus setting, it goes backwards, and if you go on the plus setting, it comes forwards. So I added like a radial blur to this with a fading zoom to basically get this effect, and I added an adjustment layer for the colors. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add the same exact code for wiggle to my color hue. So if I hold the option key, I'm using the same code, but like I said, you can go back and just click and sort of fine tune that further. So if I just do now, you see the colors move a lot quicker. And you can add it to saturation. You can basically add it to whatever setting that you wish. So now moving forward, let's see here. So we have our starburst, and again, if you click it, I mean, I encourage you to play around with the settings because it's just a lot of fun. You can make it bigger, make it smaller. You can blend it with the original if you wanted to, but I probably wouldn't do that. And then you have these other options. I do prefer the fading zoom and the centered zoom, but again, I encourage you to play around with the various settings just because each one gives you like a different option. So this would be rotate and rotating fade. I like that one too, but this one is definitely, you know, kind of pretty fun. And like I said, you can just play with it. How much scattering did you want to have? So let's just reduce the size a little bit. So that's another setting. And then we have the fractal noise, which is this one. And I have an in-depth tutorial that I've asked you to watch to get these effects. But again, if you double click on the fractal noise, this would be like to have a whole bunch of options and basically creating textures out of nothing. If I change this, you see that it completely sort of changes the look of my animation. Yeah, I probably don't want to do that because I already have like a, I mean, I could maybe, if I want to change it, I could just do it here. If I do turbulent noise, and if I just do linear, you should see that the animation completely going to look different. So again, I'm going to go back to the beginning, and if I click on any of these options, maybe best 2 keyframes, maybe if I just again, the wiggle would work width and height, that's vertical and horizontal, vertical. So now you could see that it just completely behaves differently. So this would be the width. I could do the same with the height. Maybe again, if you want to have a texture in the background and you want to have some, you know, and you can just have it play slower too if you want to. And look at G. So yeah, you can kind of just, it's really just playing around. Probably gonna just drop this to, now you see it's gonna be much more subtle. So that would be the, if you wanted to add like some kind of a movement to this. Without it, it's just gonna look like this. Basically, there is no shift in the piece. It just this is kind of what's animating the black and white elements on the page. And then again, this is basically, you want to make sure you're on the specific keyframe if you want to change that. So you know, look, as I'm changing it, you can kind of see that it totally affects the background, and I can come back here and have it so that it has more contrast, maybe it's a little brighter, and basically just play around with the settings to get the effect that I want to get. And again, this works on the evolution, is the what causing the background to move the way that it is moving.